future.
Idealism is a way of thinking that focuses on the importance of ideas and values in our minds rather than just how those ideas appear in the real world. In other words, it means that the idea may sound perfect and can be achieved in our mind. However, the idea may not be easy and practical to achieve in the real world. Idealism comes from the Plato's theory of ideas, which suggests that the world of thought and the ideals is more significant than the material world around us. So basically, idealism teaches us that our feelings, beliefs, and values matter more than just what we can touch or see. But however, idealism in international relations highlights the importance of ideas, values, and morality that influence the politics between the cultures. So idealists think that morals plays a very important role in reaching goals and influencing global politics. This is because they think that powers alone is not sufficient in international relationships. Idealism became especially important after the World War I because of the US President Woodrow Wilson. This is because he believed that countries could avoid wars by working together through diplomacy and cooperation. So in his famous 14-point speech, the President Woodrow Wilson laid out a plan for peace that included open discussion between nations, free trade, and the creation of the League of Nations, which was an early attempt of global cooperation and a precursor to this United Nations. And one key idea of idealism is the focus on international law. So idealists argue that if countries follow international rules, they can solve any problems without fighting. So they see organizations like the United Nations as very important for promoting peace and stability. And these institutions allow countries to come together, talk about their differences, and find solutions cooperatively. And another important aspect of idealism is its belief in the goodness of people. So idealists think that humans can work together to create a better future. And this belief leads to a strong emphasis on humans' rights and social justice in foreign policy decisions. As an example, many idealists support democratic movement around the world and advocate for protecting individual freedom. However, idealism also faces some criticism. This is because some people say that idealism can be too optimistic or too naive because idealism doesn't always consider the harsh realities of the international politics. So critics argue that countries often act out of self-interest rather than moral principles. However, despite these challenges and criticism, idealism still plays an important role today. So we are seeing a new wave of idealist thinking in response to current global issues like authoritarianism and climate change. So countries are increasingly realizing that working together based on shared values is essential for tackling these complex problems.
Next, moving on to the characteristic of idealism. What are the characteristics of idealism? Firstly, the theory of idealism is focused on the significance of ideas and ideal. This theory highlights that ideas can develop critical thinking and enhance the knowledge of the society. Besides that, according to Icoska, idealism also aims for harmony and cooperation. They believe that throughout the harmonization, it can prevent wars and conflicts from happening based on international law, morality, and so on. Other than that, human spirit is the essential element in idealism. For example, they believe that God is the source of knowledge. Furthermore, idealism also emphasizes that educated people will make the country better. This is because when they become the leader in the future, they can think rationally and make decisions wisely.
Alright everyone, let us move on to the analysis of the school of thoughts of idealism. In international relations, under the analysis, we are going to analyze the advantages, the disadvantages, the impacts towards industrial relations, as well as who is the actor of the theory. Alright, for the advantage, idealism promotes values. Why it says so? It is because any country that practices idealism will consider some aspects first before any decision making is made. The aspects are human rights, democracy, and social justice. For example, Canada is a democratic country. Canada will provide some help and aids to help any country that undergoing the democracy transitions. For example, like Canada has helped country like Ukraine and Myanmar. Other advantage under idealism theory is leaders by value. Just now, the country that practice idealism will consider aspects like human rights, democracy, and social justice. So, for instance, Canada is actively condemning any country that abuse human rights, such as Canada actively condemning China and Myanmar in because abusing human rights in their country. For the disadvantage, firstly, idealism has the limitations to influence. Why? It is because country that practice idealism will not simply intervene in any conflicts faced by a country. For example, like Malaysia is a country that practice neutrality. Recently in Palestine, there are genocide issue happened there. Malaysia just condemning the issue, but not intervene to the conflicts. And other disadvantage is unintended consequences. For example, like the case that happened in Iraq in 2003, where United States tried to implement democratic style of administration into Iraq, but then resulted a costly and deadly war. Alright, for next analysis is the impacts towards the industrial relations. Firstly, good global supply chains. When a country with a stable economic growth help the developing country, it will benefit the citizen in the developing country, and they can secure a job or even do a business, so that the country can reduce the poverty rate. For example, in Malaysia, most of our goods comes from China, and because of the good diplomacy relationship between China and Malaysia. Other impact is enhancing foreign direct investment. According to Department of Statistics of Malaysia, our highest FDI comes from Japan, followed by Singapore and Hong Kong. Lastly, who is the actor of the theory? The actor of the theory is the country. So one example that I can share is recently India, where India is one of the biggest palm oil importers from Malaysia, have stopped the palm oil importing because due to the increment of tax. However, Malaysia does not cut any ties with India, although India have stopped the palm oil import.
In international relations has had a significant impact on shaping global norms and institutions, as it emphasized the importance of ideas, values, principles in shaping the behavior of state and international organizations. So there must be a positive and negative impacts. The first positive impact is it promotes cooperation, international cooperation, where idealists believe that international relations need to be guided by high-minded principles such as rule of law, respect for human rights, and the promotion of the international cooperations. One way in which idealism has influenced the international relations is through the promotion of international organizations and institutions. They are designed to promote peace, stability among the cooperation of states or countries. The example of the organization is United Nations, where it helps and create a more peaceful and just work by providing a forum for dialogue and cooperation, and by helping to resolve conflict peacefully. Second one is the advancement of human rights. Idealism was crucial in the formation of international human rights convention and organizations such as Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Declaration of Human Rights is a document created by United Nations in 1948 that
least right everyone in the world should have. This includes individual freedom like freedom of speech, education, and equality before the law. It aims to ensure that everyone is treated with dignity and respect, regardless their religion, races, language, political, and other opinions. This advancement helps protect the people from abuse and promote peace and justice globally. And the third one is encouraging democratic governance. Idealists commonly stand for the spirit of democracy, believing that democratic states are more peaceful and cooperative. So, as an example, Malaysia, the citizens participate to vote for their leaders and have right to speak. And according to Abraham Lincoln, the government is to the people, by the people, and for the people. The last positive impact is promoting international law. So here, I really support the rule of international law and the peaceful resolution of conflicts. I give an example of environmental law, where the goal is to protect the environment and promote sustainable development, where it impact that led the development of the international environmental treaties, such as the Paris Agreement and the Montreal Protocol, which set the global standard for environmental protection and climate change mitigation, which give impact globally to positivity. Next, we move on to the negative impact. The first one is overemphasis moral principles and neglect of national interests. Some countries may prioritize humanitarian intervention of human rights promotion without fully considering the potential costs and risks to their own national security interests. This can lead to the unintended consequences, such as destabilizing of region or provoking conflict with other nations. And also, other problem is forcing democratic models onto societies that are not prepared historically or culturally, where for it can destabilize the political system and can lead to authoritarian lashes. Real world examples I give: in 2003, the aim for democratize the country, which the bad thing is it led to sectarian violence with the rise of ISIS and a prolonged period of instability in Iraq. The second one is underestimations of role of power politics. Idealistic approach may downplay the importance of power dynamics and the role of self-interest in international relations. This can lead to a failure to anticipate and respond to aggressive action by other states. As seen in the Russian invasion of February 24, Ukraine in 2022, Russia initiated a multi-pronged attack involving ground forces, airstrikes, and missile strikes targeting Ukrainian military infrastructure and civilian areas. The invasion has had a profound impact on the global geopolitical landscape, exacerbating existing tension between Russia and the West. It has also led to an increase of energy prices, food shortage, and economic uncertainty worldwide. So the last one is over-reliant on international institutions. International institutions can play a crucial role in promoting peace and security. They are often limited by the political will of their members of the states. Over-reliance on this institution can lead to ineffective responses to global challenges, where we can see the veto power held by the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council have often been used to block resolution that could potentially lead to meaningful action. In the case of a Syrian civil war, the Security Council's inability to agree on an unified response has allowed the conflict to escalate, resulting in a humanitarian catastrophe. This highlights the limitations of international institutions and the need for alternative approaches, such as regional cooperation and multilateral diplomacy to address complex global issues.
The conceptual thoughts of idealism is that international relations should be based on morality. Idealists believe that the world may be made perfect without conflict, inequality, tyranny, violence, and other negative aspects if nations act morally in their interactions with one another. Idealists believe that preventing war and changing the world order are moral obligations. They encourage nations to work together for the sake of shared objectives and international security. Despite the absence of a central global authority, idealists believe that shared moral principles and ideals might serve to bring the international community together. According to idealists, war is not a necessary and is not a natural manner to depict human nature. Poor communication, and miscommunication between nations and their leaders lead to wars. Non-violent diplomacy, moral appeal, and open communication are ways to stop wars. Even though idealism has come under fire for being unrealistic and idealistic. But idealists maintain their optimism about human nature and the viability of ending conflict via moral development and international cooperation.